This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Out here, there's no one way of doing things. No unwritten rules, and no shortage of adventure. Because out here, the only requirement is having fun. Bank of America invites kids 6 to 18 to golf with us. For a limited time, sign them up for a free one-year membership, giving them access to discounted tee times at thousands of courses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/golf with us. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Restrictions apply. See BofA.com/golf with us for complete details. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
I ran after my dog. My dog ran home.
Okay.
I ran after him with the leash in my hand, and he ran up where Mike was, and he had tissue and blood hanging out. So we just immediately scooped him up and took him to the vet and told the vet we were on our way.
These are the plaintiffs, Lisa and Mike Harris. Lisa says she was walking their dog Bo on his leash like she always does. And the defendant's dog got out of her house, grabbed Bo, and started shaking him violently in his mouth. She screamed bloody murder for help. Luckily, Bo broke free and now has damages which can never be repaired. They're suing this unlawful woman for the $5,000 they're 100% entitled to because they did nothing wrong. This is the defendant, Jolynn Harr. She says her dog Gucci did not get out of the house that day and was locked up behind closed doors. Her dog is not aggressive in the least. A judge ruled against the plaintiffs in criminal court because they didn't prove her dog attacked their dog, and this whole lawsuit is nothing more than an attempt to grab at money. She's accused of having a vicious dog.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you're about to witness is real. The litigants are not actors. They are involved in legitimate disputes, and they have agreed to have those disputes settled here in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Harris, you are suing Ms. Harr because, according to you, her dog attacked your dog. Mrs. Harris, tell me what happened.
We have a condo in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and we live in Texas. And so we were there for the weekend, got there about 1:30. As always, I take the dog out from the trip, and Mike brings the luggage in. And I have a map just so you can kind of see where I went. Can you see it, sort of?
I can see it. Yep.
Okay, I'm here. And so I walked my dog around this way, and this is where Jolynn's house is. And I noticed that her door was cracked open. And so as we continued to walk, and we went down around the loop, and then when we came back around the loop to head back home, on this side right here, is where I saw out of the corner of my eye, I saw her dog coming down the stairs of her condo.
And what happens?
Okay, when the dog came across the road, he attacked my dog from the back, and they were having the tussle in between my legs, and the door was open, so I was screaming into the house, hoping someone would hear me and come help me. And then as the dog had my dog down on the ground, somehow my dog shimmied out of his collar and then ran to our condo. And as
I have a question. How many feet from her door did this happen?
10, 20 feet.
Okay, and do you know where her dog went after it happened?
No clue, because I ran after my dog. My dog ran home.
Okay.
I ran after him with the leash in my hand, and he ran up where Mike was, and he had tissue and blood hanging out. So we just immediately scooped him up and took him to the vet and told the vet we were on our way.
Okay. Now, Ms. Har, when did you first realize something bad had happened?
Well, I received a phone call from my sister, who also lives on the property, that either the Harrises or our president of our POA, I'm not sure which one, had contacted her and were wanting to talk to me. I was in Minnesota with my kids who race horses, and we were at the Canterbury Park at the time that this all happened.
What's your sister's name? Gigi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what does Gigi tell you exactly?
She says that they said that the dog had done it, but there's no way she could have known for sure.
What time does your sister call you?
I couldn't tell you exactly what time.
Mr. and Mrs. Harris, when did you alert the condo association to the problem?
This occurred at about 1:30. We were at the vet. By 2:30 or 3 o'clock, we had talked to several members of the board of directors, made them aware of what was going on.
Okay. So you then call the condo association, you speak to somebody from there, and what do they say to you?
I talked to Mr. Don Broach, who is our president, and requested the phone number to the Harrises that I needed to get in touch with them. My sister said they were very upset and that I needed to call them immediately. And per Mr. Broach, he said he had spoke to the Harrises and that they were upset, but that they did not want to talk to me for a couple of days until they got things settled with their dog. And so I obliged that and did not call until I came back home from Minnesota, and which was within a couple of days, and then we were in contact with each other.
So several days had passed. What conversation did you have with them at that point when they were finally ready to talk to you? What was the conversation?
Well, I just believe that I expressed my sympathy, my worry, that if it was my dog, that yes, I would help them with any vet bills.
Okay. All right, let me hear from you, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. Hold on one moment, Ms. Har. Mr. Harris, who's the one who does the talking with Ms. Har? Is it you or Mrs. Harris?
I had her on speakerphone, but what the conversation was essentially that, and it was on Tuesday following that Friday. What we did was we told her what happened. We told her what the vets had said. That would be 7 to 10 days before we really knew what was going on with Bo, and that we wouldn't know the full extent until we got closer to that 7 to 10 day period. We told her right up front that the bills had already been over $800, and we expect them to get much higher than that. She expressed that she was willing to help with the vet bills, but we needed to give her some time because she didn't have a lot of money. We said we understand that, and we said we'll let you know when there's more to let you know.
Did she ever say to you, that wasn't my dog?
Oh, no. No, what she did tell us, though, is that her dog didn't have shots, that he was not registered, and that he was supposed to be watched by somebody that nobody ever knew, and that he wasn't even home because he was at work.
Okay, tell me about that. You weren't in town. Who was watching your dog?
A gentleman that works for my children out at the farm. He was staying in my home and tending to my dog while I was gone.
So let me ask you a question. You have a taped video of your witness, the person who you left in charge of the dog, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's hear the testimony.
Hello, my name is BJ Garrett, and at the time of the alleged incident, I was house sitting for Miss Jo Har. She was out of state, and I received a call from her mid-morning and said that Gucci was apparently running loose, so I left work and came straight here and returned to the house. I opened the door and the dog was in the same place that he was when I left. I kind of walked around, all the doors were locked, and went back to work. And then later, upon finishing work, I hear about the incident that apparently had happened. So But yes, he was there when I left and there when I got back. So that's kind of why we're all scratching our heads. But okay, thank you.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Ms. Hart. He says he gets a call from you that Gucci was running loose, and that he, after work, when he came back later on, he finds out that Gucci's accused of biting a dog. So who gave you a call to say your dog was running loose?
My sister did. My sister's the one that called and said,
How did your sister know your dog was running loose?
the Harrises had contacted my sister.
Nah. I'm going to tell you what the problem with that is. The problem is that what your witness says is that Gucci, you call him to tell him that Gucci's running loose. If your sister had already told you that Gucci had attacked the Harris's dog, your message would have been, Gucci attacked a dog. He doesn't find that out until way later. You don't say, you just tell him that Gucci's running loose. So that's a little odd to me. Your defense in this case is that you don't think Gucci was the one who did the attack. What I would like to understand is, what do you think happened? You think it was a different dog, right?
Well, yes, ma'am, I do. At this point, we've got a dog that I've sent you pictures of that is considerably looks like my dog. The Harrises are not there on a daily basis, had never really been in contact with my dog very often. That dog has been all over our property on everybody's front porches. I showed a picture of him on a neighbor's chair trying to get up on top of it, and Mike and Lisa both could tell you that that is our property where that dog is. That picture right there you're showing very much looks like my dog, but it's not. And it has been on our property many times.
She thinks it's a case of mistaken identity, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. Tell me why that is not so.
Well, there's no way. I don't think the two dogs look that much alike, but I know Gucci. I mean, I've seen the dog. I know that that's her dog, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, did you guys have contact with Gigi, the sister?
We did. She came over at our condo at 10 o'clock that Friday evening and gave us her name and phone number, said that she had been in contact with Jolynn, that Jolynn was she was very upset about this whole scenario, that she had expressed she was willing to pay the vet bills and to just please not get their mother involved because her mom's going through cancer, and that's part of why they're both so away.
When you spoke to the sister, she was very contrite and said everybody was very upset. You offer to pay. If you talk to that witness who says doors were locked, no way it was Gucci, why would you be offering to pay?
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
Your Honor, I didn't have a clue. I was 900 miles away. I mean, I think if anybody called you...
Yeah, I know, but hold on a second. Apparently, there's this novel invention called a telephone because he got a call from you asking you to go back, asking him to leave work and go check on the house. So you are speaking to him on the phone. He, I presume, tells you right away all doors were locked, everything was locked, because that's why we're all scratching our heads, Judge. That's what your witness said. So why then... Tuesday, are you offering to pay if, truthfully, the doors were locked and it wasn't Gucci? Explain why you're offering to pay for another dog's damage if it wasn't Gucci.
I told them that prior to BJ calling me back and saying that Gucci was in the house, Your Honor.
Oh, heck no, because that would have happened on Friday, and you didn't talk to the Harrises until Tuesday. Right, Mr. and Mrs. Harris?
That's correct.
All right, let's talk about your lawsuit, because you're not just suing for the vet bills and wound care. That's $2,573.94. You're also suing for all kinds of other stuff. Let's see. Travel expenses, 3 trips to a hearing. You're talking about the criminal hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
You ended up being acquitted at the criminal hearing, right?
Yes, ma'am. It was dismissed.
And you say it's because they couldn't prove it was Gucci, and you guys say it's because she wasn't physically in town at the time. Nobody has an actual order by the judge that says why she was acquitted, right? Nobody has that?
No, ma'am. This is a court of no record.
All right. What are you suing for here? Time lost from work. More than the vet bills. You're trying to get compensated for time lost from work. Why?
I had to take vacation days. We had to miss the last 6 weeks of our time going to our condo because of this. We had to be changing the bandages on our dog every hour and a half to 2 hours because they were oozing out and falling off. We were continually dealing with this dog 24/7 for.
What were the damages to Bo?
days.
What was it that happened when Bo ran to you, Mr. Harris? What did you notice about Bo?
I noticed the tissue that was hanging out the two sides of it,
like a flap.
Marks. Not only a flap, but a long string of tissue. And it was probably a 1.5 feet long that was hanging out. And as those days went into the first week and a half, those puncture wounds went from the size of a number 2 pencil eraser to the size of a silver dollar, and they dug into the muscle. The muscle deteriorated, and in addition to that, Bo also got a virus. He got a MRSA type virus that ate away even more tissue. So by the 9th day, when we were doing that water therapy treatment here at our house, we were just in tears because all of the stitches, all the sutures, anything that our vet had put together had pulled apart because all the skin and all the tissue had further destroyed itself. It had just died. And we actually called our vet on that Sunday evening and said, we think that we're going to have to, bring him in tomorrow morning and you're going to have to put him down because we can't stand him being in this much pain and agony. So we get there the next day, she examines him, and after about 2 hours, she calls us back and says, I found some new tissue growing underneath. It's pink. I cut away a lot of the old. Let's continue with the therapy sessions. You bring him here every day, and we'll do them, and then we'll reevaluate on Friday. And by that next Friday, which would have been 2 weeks exactly after the incident, she felt like he was in good enough shape to where she could sew him all up and put just a regular type bandage on. And then the next day she said, take it off. He had 70 stitches, over 50 of them inside. That's a pretty serious wound. And
Can I ask you, how's the dog doing now? How's Bo doing now?
He's doing fine. He'll never be as good as he was, but he's got nerve damage. He continually will quiver at various times. He'll take 10 or 15 steps, and then he'll realize, oh, I feel something sharp back there, and he'll reach around to try to bite that spot.
All right. What's the summer break days for Mike? What is this additional thing you're adding on here? $1,080 summer break days. What does that mean?
That was Lisa's. Lisa's a school teacher, and because she normally is out for the summer for school, that's when this occurred. But she also lost 5 days of fun summer, as opposed to 5 days of being nursemaid.
You want fun summer money? You want fun summer money? Come on, guys. Okay, we're done. I am 100% convinced that it was Gucci, the real Gucci. I have your witness saying I got a call that Gucci was running loose. And then I went there and the doors were locked. I don't know if your sister Gigi had already gone and taken care of things and locked the door. I hear about a very contrite Gigi. I hear about a very contrite Ms. Har. I hear you, when you're talking to them on Tuesday, telling them, I'll pay if it was my dog. Why would you? That's what you said to them on Tuesday. Why would you say I'll pay if it was my dog if on Friday you already spoke to your witness who told you everything was locked, it couldn't have been our dog? It doesn't add up. Aside from that, according to Ms. Harris, so unless you're going to call Ms. Harris a liar, according to Ms. Harris, she sees your dog come out. She knows Gucci. So I am convinced that it was Gucci. All right, so I'm going to order you to pay the $2,573.94 to the plaintiffs. That is my judgment.
So the plaintiffs are going to recover just over $2,500, not the $5,000 they were seeking. Ms. Haar, let me ask you a quick question. You just heard what the judge decided. She's convinced Gucci was guilty. What do you think about this?
Oh, I feel like I was railroaded by the judge. I think she took words and twisted what I said and times. And my sister was out of town at the time. There's no way she could have shut the door. I was out of state. I can't tell you what happened. I'm sorry if it was my dog. To this date, I still do not believe it was my dog. He was in a locked house when the animal control got there, which was just shortly afterwards. And my sister couldn't have gotten 60 miles in that length of time and put the dog up. So, no, I do not believe that I should have to pay them.
Well, the judge says you do. You know, you did promise you would pay, and then you reneged on that. But after hearing the story of what they went through, you must feel sorry for them, don't you?
That's where y'all keep bringing that up, that I did not ever promise to pay anything. I never promised. I said that I would help with the vet bills if it was my dog and if that's what had happened. So, no, I did not.
Well, let me ask you, do you feel sorry for them for what they went through? You should. You have to.
I do feel sorry for them and the dog. I've seen the dog prancing around and happy as he ever was before. So it's a bad situation, and I'll be glad when it's all over.
All right. Well, who knows? This may linger on for a while because you still live there and they have a condo there as well. Let's talk to Mr. and Ms. Harris. This must have been a terrible emotional strain on you, I would think. Being a dog lover, I can understand how bad that would be.
It was terrible, but we do have 3 kids, so we do have kids. They just don't live with us now.
Well, the bottom line, you still live there, you still have the condo. What's going to happen in the future with this neighbor? What do you think?
We just are hesitant to take our dog that direction. And in fact, our dog won't even go that direction, at least not to this point. We think there's some severe PTSD type scenario with him, and and for sure, anytime we walk that direction, we are going to be 150% wary of her door and what might or might not happen.
Well, very good. All right, congratulations. You are going to get some money to help with those vet bills. $2,500, just over it. Thanks very much. Now, let's get some insight now on how 2 judges feel about this case. Here's Judge Marilyn Milian and her court judge husband, Judge John, with another session of After the Verdict.
Dog bite cases can turn into complicated cases, believe it or not. Most people think they're pretty cut and dried, but not so. You presided over a few of them. In this case, you got some direct testimonial evidence from the plaintiff that this was, in fact, the neighbor's dog. She knew the dog well. It seemed like that was enough to sway you into being convinced that Ms. Hart was not correct, the defendant, when she said it was a different dog.
I also think that was kind of a convenient thing that she came up with once she got angry at them for calling animal control and getting a criminal charge against her. She had to pay for a lawyer in the criminal case. She was angry about how venomous Mr. and Mrs. Harris seemed to be about this. So I think that this whole Inspector Clouseau defense, it's not my dog, just came up kind of late in the game, and it came up because of that. Because once I heard her witness's testimony, when he said, I got a call that Gucci was running loose, that's not the same as Gucci bit a neighbor's dog.
No.
That means that someone alerted her that her dog was loose.
Right.
Already. And if that's all they said and not, he bit the neighbor's dog, Gucci was running loose. So this nonsense about Gucci was never loose doesn't make any sense to me at that point. Plus, if you've already talked to the guy you have a dog sitting, and he tells you everything was locked on Tuesday, you wouldn't be saying, oh, I'll help pay for you wouldn't be saying, I'll help pay for the vet bills, and you certainly wouldn't be saying, if it was my dog, I'll help, because by then you would have already talked to your witness, and your witness would have told you that dog was locked down, and you would have said, my dog was locked down. That's what you would have said. And the reason for her liability, I realize that she's not home, but it's her dog, and she leaves someone in charge who apparently must not have locked the doors.
And failing to get up-to-date shots for your dog doesn't exactly cry out responsible pet owner.
No, it doesn't.
Either.
It doesn't.
And certainly at the end of the day, these plaintiffs, they knew the dog well. They knew what Gucci looked like, and you can tell the difference between Gucci and a knockoff Gucci. The neighborhood dog that looks like Gucci.
The knockoff Gucci, right. No, I think that they know. And, and they testified that they saw the dog come out, that it was right, it happened all in front of her place. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it was Gucci.
No doubt in your mind.
No doubt in my mind.
There you have it.
Well, Gail, as they say in the military, you are SOL. What I mean by that is you don't have a case. This is 13 years you have waited, and the statute of limitations has definitely run. It varies from state to state. Usually, if it's an oral contract to do something, it's 2 years. If it's a written contract, 4, sometimes 6, 13 years, way too long. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
This is the plaintiff, Robin Russell French. He says he sold a very expensive safe to the defendant, and due to a technical problem, the defendant couldn't use it. He refunded the defendant in full, but now the louse refuses to send it back to him. He can't keep the safe for free. He's owed $2,000, and he's suing for just that here today. This is the defendant, Ajmer Singh. He says he couldn't open the safe because the plaintiff didn't have a bill of sale, and the safe company wouldn't help him because he couldn't prove the safe wasn't stolen. He explained all of this to eBay, and they refunded his $1,000 purchase price, but not the $500 he spent on shipping. He has no problem sending the safe back to the plaintiff, but he's not willing to pay another $500 to do it. He's accused of not playing it safe. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $700 for a full refund on his shipping and storage fees.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. So the plaintiff sold the defendant a safe and got stiffed. The defendant is saying the plaintiff didn't own that safe, and when the defendant called the safe company to get the combination, they said, we can't do that because the plaintiff never owned the safe. It's the case of not playing it safe.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. French, you were selling a safe, correct? How big was this safe?
It was pretty big. I'd say about waist height, like 3 feet tall, 2.5 feet wide or so.
Okay. How much did it weigh?
Geez, a bit. I'd say almost 200 pounds.
Right. And how did you come into possession of the safe?
Initially, there was a 7-Eleven that owned the safe, and when they switched locations, they left it there. And the guy that was opening a restaurant in that location hired, demolition team to come in and remove everything, and they couldn't remove the safe. So the demo team, their, foreman, I guess, posted an ad on Craigslist saying, "Come take the safe. If you can get it out, it's yours for free." And I responded.
Right. So you end up putting it on Craigslist, and you called it a recovered safe. What does that mean to you, recovered?
Well, under the context of, and it was eBay, just to be, under the context of selling it for, no worries, for parts and not working, recovered should mean that it may not be working. or that at least there shouldn't be a bill of sale.
Do you have your ad? And does your ad say it doesn't work?
Well, it says it hasn't been tested, but that it could be working 100%.
Let's see your ad. Tidal 6 with tube vend. What is vend?
Well, this is more than just a normal safe. It can act as sort of an ATM of sorts. So if employees need change or need to deposit stuff, they can use it kind of as like a mini on-site bank.
Mr. Singh, did he ever tell you it wasn't working?
No. I assumed it would have worked out for us as long as there was evidence of purchase.
How much did you sell this for?
I sold it for $1,000.
Why would anybody pay $1,000 for a safe that doesn't work and just for parts? Is there anywhere on your ad where you can show me that it says this safe doesn't work and it's just for parts?
If you look at the top of the ad, it's a listing category within eBay, which is for parts not working. And so by default, anything you list under that category should be assumed not to work without some degree of trouble.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Singh. You get the safe and what happens? You pay for the shipping, so you pay $500 extra, right, to get it shipped to you, and then what happens?
So I came in, I contacted Tidal, which is manufacturer. I asked them to help us with passwords. They said, yeah, that's fine, we can help you with that, but they need to know whose it is. They say it belongs to 7-Eleven. If you're not an employee of an 7-Eleven, we cannot give out any passwords. So I reached back to Mr. French, asking for a bill of sale, assuming he either owns it or he has evidence of purchasing it from 7-Eleven. He couldn't produce it. So our communication, I tried to pass it on to Tidal, but they said, no, they can't help.
Because their worry is that it's a stolen safe. Exactly. That's what their worry is. Okay, so Mr. French, I hear you describe to me in detail how it is that you got a hold of it. And obviously, if that's accurate, it's completely legitimate. Did you ever contact Tidal and try to see if you could work through this and get the thing working? Because I think all they care about is that it's not stolen. So if you could put together the pieces, like you're saying now, that 7-Eleven left it behind, so you would get an affidavit from the wrecking crew saying, this was abandoned property, we put an ad, and this gentleman answered the ad. If you could get that, it sounds like Tidal would have been satisfied. Why didn't you just go ahead and get that?
I did everything I could. I reached out to Tidal. I was on the phone with them for days, literally trying to work this out in some way or another.
What did they tell you?
They say, unless you can produce proof of sale. And so another thing that I'm also trying at this point is trying to reach out to the original 7-Eleven owner, which I did for half a day, trying to track this guy down at his new location and couldn't. But I really feel that I did everything I could to make this happen. And just to touch on one thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And just like eBay, I feel the same way. There's no way that this gentleman bought that for parts. You don't think that. He doesn't think that. eBay doesn't think that. And neither do I. Okay? He needed that thing to work. And so what is it you do, Mr. Singh? You end up contesting it with eBay? Like, did you contact Mr. French and Mr. French said tough? Like, how did that work out?
So I explained to Mr. French, it's not panning out for us. We need to get those passwords reset in order for it to work for us. So I told him the grounds that now I look like I got stolen safe. I'm trying to break into somebody's safe. So we can't own it. We have to get our money back, and you can either come pick up the safe, or we can put it we can pack it for shipping. You can send me a shipping slip, and we'll ship it. Help you ship it back to you.
So, Mr. Singh, you get the safe. It doesn't work. Everybody's got texts back and forth, messages back and forth. You end up contesting it with eBay. You win, and then Mr. French. There's a series of communications which are kind of angry, where you're saying, send back my safe. You are affecting my business. What happened with eBay? You had a negative, what happened? Why was it affecting your business?
Well, the way eBay works is they keep a card on file for all sellers. And in this scenario, they debited that card for the $1,000 for the safe. And when you're in arrears like that, you can't post anything anymore. So
So you didn't have a positive balance that would absorb that. You'd spent the money in PayPal already. So that's what your lost revenue claim due to frozen PayPal account is. But you're supposed to, like, you know, if there's a return, there's a return. If you don't have any money, you don't have any money. If you had $1,000 that you hadn't spent, you could have put it in there and then you could have kept doing business, right?
Sure, absolutely. But again, this is right before COVID hit, and this was my only means of doing no contact sales. After this, you know, it was all just Craigslist and nobody wants to meet in person.
I get it. But, you know, it's unfortunate. The return is a valid return. Who's supposed to pay for that? You can't possibly think he's going to. You, Mr. Singh, didn't think you were going to because you kept telling him, I will package it up. I will take my time. I will make it shipping ready, but you need to send me a prepaid slip. And he didn't do that, and here we are. In this lawsuit, you are suing him for $1,000, the value of the safe, and $1,000 for the lost revenue. As far as lost revenue is concerned, that's on you because you had no money to handle the PayPal return, and you should. And I realize why you didn't, but you can't possibly think somebody else is going to pay you for lost revenue, especially when they end up being right. And for the cost of the safe, I think you're wrong. I think that he should be able to make a return. And Mr. Singh, you are suing now for the shipping fees that you were ready to eat, which is unfortunate for you now, Mr. French. Now you want the shipping because you paid for shipping the first time around. And you are suing for those shipping fees, but you're also suing for the inconvenience of storing a safe. You want another $200 for that? How do you figure?
Whatever's fair. just whatever's fair.
I'm not going to impose it. Yeah. All right. So here's what I think. In your lawsuit, Mr. French, against Mr. Singh, I'm finding in favor of Mr. Singh. On the counterclaim where Mr. Singh is suing you for the shipping fees, I am finding in favor of Mr. Singh on the shipping fees. You are going to have to pay for the shipping if you want to have that item returned to you. And before you sell it again, either stick to this is for parts, or I think it would be much wiser if you worked out with Tidell how to get it working again, and then you could sell it for a lot more than $1,000 because new this safe is like $6,000. But anyway, that's my advice to you. But my verdict in this case is a net judgment in favor of Mr. Singh for $500. Now, Mr. French, I am going to give you 2 weeks to get that safe over on your side. After 2 weeks, I am going to deem it to be abandoned property. That is my verdict.
So the judge finds for the defendant in this case, the plaintiff has to pay $500 to get that safe back. Mr. French, what's your reaction to the judge's decision?
Well, I listed it as for parts not working, and I don't know why that category exists, if not to explain that, you know, it's not going to fully function without, you know, it's not going to be plug and play. You're going to have to do some sort of legwork, and then it's his due diligence to know what that legwork is. So,
did you understand the decision? If you want that safe back, you have to pay the shipping fee to get it back. You have to give Mr. Singh $500.
I do understand, and initially I had considered taking it apart for the inner workings of it, which you can sell individually for way more than just $1,000. So I probably will pay for the shipping to have it back.
Okay, very good. And you got 2 weeks to do it, or it's his to do with what he wants. That's the judge's decision. All right, good luck to you. All right, Mr. Singh, how do you feel about this decision? You okay with it?
Yeah, it's a good decision.
Yeah, you wanted to ask the judge something. What did you want to ask her at the end of the case, the very end?
She already covered that. I needed to know how long it's going to be before he gets it back, yes.
Okay, well, that's all right. The decision covers it. You have 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you can do with it what you want. It's your safe. And that's the decision. So congratulations. Now, let us join Judge Milian and her husband, Judge John, for another session of After the Verdict.
Most of your viewers are probably familiar with certain Latin phrases like caveat emptor, which means buyer beware. You hear it all the time, and often courts will mention it in their opinions. But in this case, it turned out to be a case of caveat venditor, or seller beware. Why don't you tell us again, what was it that was exactly wrong with the safe?
The problem with this, it didn't work at all. Like, it wouldn't open. He had to crack. That's why he was joking that I felt like I was trying to crack into a safe. And when he called the company said, well, wait a second, this is 7-Eleven safe.
Right.
So they wouldn't give him the passwords in order to open it. in order to get everything functioning, he needed the password.
And it's no good without a password.
No, you can't even get into it.
Essentially, and when I say seller beware, sellers need to know exactly what it is that they're selling. And in this instance, the guy was selling effectively a 316-pound paperweight, right?
Well, here's the thing, too. He really his error was in, when you write the sentence underneath, should still work 100%.
Right.
You're trying to make it more attractive for the buyer. You want this to get purchased. So you can't then avail yourself of, well, I listed it under a certain category that's this, if you're then giving a conflicting statement. That's what eBay found, and that's, I think, what I found. What did you think?
I agree. I mean, the mixed messages that were sent there were really the undoing for the seller. I mean, to say on the one hand, yeah, it should be 100% working and functioning, and then on the other hand, expect them to go up to the category and say, well, maybe not so much. I think, obviously, he should have known exactly what he was selling, and it just wasn't a useful item without that password.
Right. I mean, he couldn't even open it, much less get it working without the passwords. And they wouldn't give it to him unless they knew the provenance of how it got there.
There you have it. Seller beware.
Wow, Buffy, this is an interesting one. Well, I think the short answer is no. That if you paid for the wedding, you are simply paying for them to get married. You are not paying for the wedding and the marriage to last. And if it fell apart 5 months into the marriage, you don't have a dog in that fight. You may be upset about it, and you may be pissed off because you had this wedding, but you didn't vouch, or he didn't vouch, that this wedding was going to last forever despite his vows. So, you can be angry for sure, but you just don't have any recourse. Once the wedding is over, you have no rights in terms of getting anything back from your daughter or from him.